Hello everyone and welcome to another deck discussion with TheChiv. I am your host, TheChiv. Today we're going to be covering another top Hearthstone deck, the Kolento Legend Paladin. We all know Kolento. He's a great pro streamer. He's competed at some of the highest levels of this game. He is the master of the miracle. He is the pastor of the priest. He's just a great all-around player. So I was really happy to see him do something with Paladin, a class that, well, generally doesn't get much love from anybody serious. So let's take a look at this, shall we? Alrighty then. So first, little history here. This deck was actually created in order to handle things that Kolento was seeing in the top meta. And by top meta, I mean ranks 5 and up. He started realizing he was facing the same 4 decks over and over and over again. So he wanted something that could do well against at least 3 of them. Luckily, 2 of them were aggro, so if you can counter one, you can counter the other relatively decently. So, the first deck that he wanted to be able to counter was Miracle. Now, this is a man who perfected and mastered Miracle, so he knew just exactly how to linchpin it. And he did it very nicely. Aggro, like Zoo, it's not that hard to defeat, but it can overwhelm and snowball you. So, let's do a card breakdown here and discuss exactly why this deck is good. Okay, we're going to start off with Humility. This is a very interesting card. It works really great in conjunction with the Stampeding Kodo, which we will get to in a little bit. You're never going to want to have this in your opening hand. It's more of a late game play. It gives Paladins kind of a single target removal option, which is really nice. So, yeah, never want this opening hand. The Elven Archer. This is a very interesting card to have. Some people feel like it's only in there just to have a 1-drop that you can actually play out. No, that's not why that's here. The Elven Archer is here in case of emergency purposes or to be used in combination with other things, most notably the Knife Juggler. In a pinch, you could use it with an equality in order to single target kill something, because you're not going to want to waste a spell if it's single target. You know, you're not going to want to waste a consecration. You're not going to want to use the Wild Pyromancer combo with this. So, yeah. And again, these are like dire situation, break in case of emergency kind of deals, all right? So, but it does work for that. All right. Holy Light. Now, this deck works on the premise of being able to run your opponent out of steam and then overwhelm them. And if you're going to do that, you need heals. You need heals or armor or something. So having a Holy Light in your deck really does help stave off that early game aggression you're going to get. Knife Juggler. Really great offensive tool. Works even better with certain minions such as Elven Archer, just to, you know, give you some advantage. The fact that your hero power is literally churning out tokens makes this guy kind of like a machine gun for all intents and purposes. So, really great and functional card. The downside here is he's really easy to kill. Wild Pyromancer. This is part of the board clearing strategy or AoE wiping. When used in conjunction with equality, wipes everything, including your side of the board. When used with, say, a Consecration, that's a 3 damage Consecration to your enemy and 1 damage to you. That's kind of a fair trade-off. So definitely you can get a lot of value out of this guy. And one of the nifty tricks I discovered while playing this deck is using Wild Pyromancer while an Acolyte of Pain is on the board. You will get so much value out of this. You'll be cycling him every single time. Unfortunately, you only get 2 bursts with this guy because you have very little ways of healing, and there's no way in hell you're going to want to waste a Holy Light on a Wild Pyromancer. So, yeah. There are other iterations of this deck that I've seen that run a Blessing of Kings, and what they do is they end up having it on top of the Acolyte of Pain. And the reason for this is so that they can have him be offensive and still get card draws off of it. I had somebody do this to me, and it just smacked me in the face so hard. It was disgusting. Alright. Aldor Peacekeeper. Aldor Peacekeeper, for all intents and purposes, is a Humility with a SI7 agent body. Alright? In some ways, this is kind of superior to the SI7 because you actually have to combo in order to make the SI7 work right. Where Outdoor Peacekeeper, you lay it down and you mitigate whatever your opponent's damage he thinks he can do. So this is really great. This knocks Doom Guards down to size very nicely and just ruins a lot of people's days. I do like these a little bit better than I like Humility, just for the fact that you get a body on the board. And that's really important in this game. Okay, Harvest Golem. This guy is in so many decks, it's damn near standardized, okay? Solid body, you kill him once, you gotta kill him again. That's just all there is to it. True Silver Champion. Now, I said before, you're going to want to be able to control the board somewhat and heal. That's exactly the two things that True Silver Champion does. It's great for board control. You go and use this against an Azure Drake, you only take 2 damage. You're still taking 2 damage, but it's better than taking 4 damage. And in a pinch, you can use it just to attack your opponent's face. Do 4 damage to him, gain 2 life back. Hey, best of both worlds. Consecration. Again, AoE. You're going to want to use this with Equality, Wild Pyromancer, wiping the board, clearing out trash, whatever. Just to kind of equalize the field, and then you're going to start playing your stuff to overwhelm them. Alright, Hammer of Wrath. Hammer of Wrath is kind of, well, let's be honest. Stat-wise, it's a horrible card. 3 damage for 4 and a card draw? That doesn't seem all that worthwhile, to be honest with you. But then again, Paladins are not known as really good offensive spellcasters. However, when you combine it with things such as a Wild Pyromancer, or if you have an Azure Drake on the board, you end up getting a lot of value out of this. And the fact that you're getting a card draw off of it isn't that bad after all. Okay, so Sen'jin Shieldmaster is next. This guy is also starting to become standardized again. He is probably the best value taunt you're ever going to get in this game. 4 mana for a 3/5. At that point, it's very difficult to deal with this guy. You're probably going to be trading 2 for 1 most of the time in the mana curve. In later game, however, he kind of falters a lot. Things like Ancient Allures just walk right over him. Black Knight is definitely his bane. So there is that. But that's kind of a good thing if you think about it. Alright. Azure Drake. Spell power, yay! However, there's only a few things you can really use this with. Hammer of Wrath, Consecration. That's it, because heals don't benefit from spell power. Why is this in here? It's a 4/4 body, and you get a card draw. That's really important. The card draw is hugely important. But these guys are really good. Putting them on the board will make your opponents pretty much target them instantly, because they don't want you to be able to get a 3 damage Consecrate. They don't want you to get a 4 damage Hammer of Wrath. And another reason, they might think you're playing Avenging Wrath. Everybody's been playing Avenging Wrath for so long now that having an Azure Drake down and then he goes Avenging Wrath the next turn? No. No, they don't want that. They'd rather take 8 versus 9. Okay, Stampeding Kodos, we already covered this guy with Humility, but just quick synopsis. Solid body. His Battle Cry gives this deck a single target option when used in conjunction with Humility. So 6 mana, boom, dead. And you get a minion out of it. Alright, Sunwalker. Now I mentioned earlier on that the idea behind this deck was to kind of mitigate your early game, flip the board, and then just overwhelm and outlast your opponent. Sunwalkers are going to make that a lot easier. Sunwalkers are very difficult to deal with. Black Knight obviously kills them outright. Hexes and Polymorphs really screw them over nicely. But if they don't have those options, then they're probably going to have to trade really ineffectively. And that's kind of the point. Okay? You want them to trade ineffectively. So they kill this and they get very little through. Then you play another one the next turn, or you play a Sen'jin. So now they got to go through that to get to you again. So you're just going to start churning them down, running them out of steam. You're going to want to get them to play 2 to 3 card combos in order to deal with things. You do that, great. They're going to either have to tap their life if they're a Warlock, or have no cards in their hand. Okay, Black Knight. This is to kill any defensive measures that they have. Also, Druids, if you run that big-ass tree, Iron Bark Protector, you deserve this. Alright, Seriously, this guy wrecks so many things. Now, if you're playing up against another Paladin, there's always that worry. Do I use this on Tyrion? Yes, you use it on Tyrion. If you don't use it on Tyrion, consider this. Tyrion is 6'6" with Divine Shield and Taunt. Okay, so if he hits you and then you kill him, he's still getting another chance there because of Divine Shield. Or let's say you kill him outright, he's still going to have 15 damage off Ashbringer. So that's 21 total damage. Tyrion is that powerful. It's why he should be in every Paladin deck ever made. Unfortunately, he's not in my variant because I don't have Tyrion, and the account I was going to use in order to do this is currently being used, and, well, sucks to be me. Alright. Guardian of Kings. Guardian of Kings. This is kind of interesting because there's only a one-of in this deck. It's a solid minion, 5/6, plus you heal 6. So that brings the total amount of life just off of spells and minions and whatnot so far to being 6, 6, 4, 4. Or, in other words, 20 life regained. Now, some people might say, well, why aren't there two if he's so great? Well, this deck's already a little top-heavy if you look at the curve. And Paladins are one of those classes that can actually handle one-offs a little bit better than other classes. And nobody knows exactly why. It probably has something to do with the fact that they can heal through some stuff. But, who knows? Now, I told you 20 earlier. Okay, so now here's the other 8. Lay on Hands. 8 life plus 3 card draws. That's actually really good in the late game. Because you're probably going to run low on cards, and so is your opponent. But being able to fill your hand back up with options and get 8 life for it, it's kind of like resetting it one turn back in a way. So this could definitely lead to some positive things for you. Alright? Now, again, I've already explained why I have a Ragnaros here. When I put this together and I was using Ragnaros, I actually had some really good success with it. Some really good. I kind of felt it needed Faceless Manipulator just to really exploit the Ragnaros, but again, I didn't want to change up the deck. I did get a chance to play this with Tyrion, and I was amazed how much simpler playing this deck was with it. I'm not even going to lie, Tyrion is just the perfect choice for this deck. Trying to sub him out is a mistake in every way, shape, or form. You really do hurt yourself, okay? So don't do it. Ragnaros, you can kill him with a freaking big game hunter. Tyrion, not going to be able to do it with a big game hunter, sorry. And if you're lucky, you've probably already drew out the Black Knight using either a Senjin or a Sunwalker, so Tyrion ends up coming onto that board unmolested and has a little bit of staying power. So, yeah, Tyrion gets my vote every single time. So, yeah, get a Tyrion. Do yourself a favor. Save yourself the heartache. Get Tyrion. Alright, so now, let's talk about mulligans and what you're going to want in your opening hands versus a couple decks here. Alright, we're going to cover everybody's favorite deck, Miracle. This is actually the simplest mulligan you'll ever need to know. Either Wild Pyromancer, Consecration, and an Equality. Pretty much Equality is the core one you're always going to want to get because this is the key ingredient to wiping that crap out. Gonna want an Equality. Gonna want some sort of AoE thing. Now, if you don't get that, there is another way, and I actually pulled this off, and it was hilarious. The moment I did it, the guy conceded instantly. So, Gadget Sand hits the board. It's turn 6. No, actually, it was turn 5. He coined to put the Conceal on it. So, it goes into my turn 6. I threw down the Equality, turned it to 1. I had a Knife Juggler in my hand, and I had the Elven Archer. So what I did was, I threw down the Knife Juggler, I threw down the Elven Archer, and then I hit the Hero Power. Now, both the Knife Juggler from the Elven Archer did not hit at all, so 2 went to his face. However, the Hero Powered one went right to the Gadget Sand, knocked him right out. It was so tasty. I'm not even gonna lie. It's one of those heartwarming moments, you know? The guy was not happy. He emote threatened and then conceded instantly afterwards. But that's another option for you there. That's part of the reason why you have the Elven Archer. So that knocks it out really good if you can't get that ideal of equality Wild Pyromancer. Okay? You could have also used the Consecration at that point as well because it's within there. However, really, you really want to use that Consecration combo when there's other minions on the board. And you really want to use the Wild Pyromancer version when you have nothing on the board. Okay, so that's pretty much what you're going to need against Miracle. And then the rest of the gameplay is you getting Sen'jins out and watching him bounce them back to your hand. But you play it again, watching bounce it back to your hand. Hopefully by this point you get Sunwalkers. Then you're dropping Sunwalkers. It's a lot more difficult for a Miracle Rogue to deal with Sunwalker. They're going to have to hit it with something, and then they're going to have to hit it with either a boosted up Eviscerate or hit it with an Eviscerate and their hero power, or some combination of that. And that's not good for them, because if they're hitting it, they're going to take damage, and they're already in a weakened state. So keep that in mind. You're also going to want to keep your life up, because, well, Miracle does not need Leroy in order to win. I've actually proven this a few times. So yeah, there's that. And then pretty much once you get your Sunwalkers out, you get Tyrion out, there's nothing else you can really do. He's either just going to concede or you're just going to walk all over him. Alright. Now, the other deck that this was primarily designed against was Zoo. We all know and love Zoo. Zoo is great. Zoo is the most awesome deck ever created. Anywho, alright, so the core mechanics behind Zoo is pretty much low, cheap, but progressively getting a little bit more expensive minions that complement each other very well and are boosted by a few things. Young Priestess, Dark Iron Dwarves, the things of that nature. And then it has a massive, little slug using Doom Guards. And it has a little bit of spells to it as well. However, recently, Zoo decks have been modifying themselves, carrying in things such as Silence, carrying in Hellfires and things of that nature, so you got to be a little bit wary of it. Okay, so how do you deal with that? Well, the first few rounds against Zoo, you're going to be taking some punishment. I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. Knife Juggler could be good to get out there so your tokens actually are effective, but it's so easy to kill this, it's probably not going to last all that long. Acolyte of Pain, help you draw into what you need. Yes, sure. Harvest Golem, solid one to get. So I would probably say your best options are going to be a Knife Juggler, Elven Archer combo, and probably a Wild Pyromancer. You could go for the whole Wild Pyromancer equality. That's great too. Catch them, wipe their whole board. But the moment they realize you're not playing anything on turn 2 or turn 3, they're going to start not unrolling their hand greatly because they know you're going to wipe them. So you got to be really careful about that. So getting out the Knife Juggler, getting out Harvest Golems, Acolytes, using Outdoor Peacekeepers to lower down their top minions, really important. So, got to be careful of that. On about turn 4, you're going to want to get Ascension or clear the board, if possible. If you get Ascension out on turn 4, they're probably going to trade 2 to 1 on it, and then they're going to bring out some other minion, maybe tap at that point. Then you're going into your turn 5. If you can Wild Pyromancer and Equality then, and just wipe all that, they're in bad shape, okay? Because then your next turn, you're going to throw a Holy Light or bring out True Silver Champion, start recouping, or throw out another taunt just to slow them down. You're slowing their pace down. You're starting to regen life. You're starting to get these bigger and bigger minions that they can't handle. They have nothing to answer for it, and then you overwhelm and you crush them. And that's pretty much how you defeat Zoo with this. It's kind of a challenge, I'm not going to lie. One of the other decks is the Rogue Aggro deck that a lot of people have been playing. It's attributed to a player named Backspace. From what I understand, a very nice guy. The deck has some other less fun names, which I'm not going to cover. But it works on the principle of, hey, I can put down these things that charge, like that pirate, if I have a weapon. And then I can throw Cold Bloods on it and hit you for 6. Yes, it's just that cheesy. The deck uses a lot of early game, low drop stuff, burst. Not I don't remember seeing Knife Jugglers in it, but I do know it has Leopard Gnomes. And then it uses its spells to basically just finish the job for it. It's really nasty. It's really, really nasty. But this deck can actually control it to some degree because it can recoup the losses it took with Holy Light, True Silver Champion, Guardian of Kings, and Lay on Hands. That's really nice. And if they get any significant board presence, you just wipe it with Consecrations, Equality Wild Pyromancers, and all sorts of different ways. So it gives it a lot of flexibility against decks like that. Face Rush decks generally will have some problems with this. But again, a bad hand is a bad hand is a bad hand. So be careful with that. Alright. So we broke down, did the mulligans, covered all this. If you like this deck, please, go pay respects to Kolento. If you like this video, like, subscribe, leave me a comment, whatever. This is TheChiv's saying thank you very much for tuning in. See you next week with another deck.